Hello, and welcome to another line exploration. It's a third line day, and we are in gate 20 in the third line, which is called self-awareness. Now, we know that if we're dealing with a third line, we have trial and error, and we have trial and error in the now. So there are going to be a few mishaps along the way, really. Third lines, they bang into things, they get banged into, they really get surprised what they're banging into from time to time because they're lower trigram. And they tend to think that they're all by themselves in their process, and then suddenly there's something beside them or in front of them, and like, whoa. Ra says that it's because of this, because this process is built into them, no line in this gate is more aware in the now than the third line. They get the consequences physically for any error in their perception in the now because they get banged into. The lifetime learning here says understanding derived from analysis of personal actions and effects. The exaltation tells us that the proper attunement and development of the personality through self-consciousness, the expression of self-consciousness, awareness in the now. This is self-conscious awareness in the now. These are people who are always watching themselves in the now. Could be seen as being a little bit narcissistic, perhaps, but the reality is that these are beings who are designed to be very conscious of themselves, moment to moment. That's how they learn. Self-criticism can be a big part of this third line experience, depending on what else is happening in the chart, of course. But it's because they're watching themselves now very much in the present, and they see that they miss things or that they bang into something, and what they thought was possible for them now isn't. And because they watch themselves so intently, they can be very hard on themselves. In the detriment, it says self-consciousness in the extreme that hampers development, the expression of self-consciousness in the extreme. The 20th gate is in integration, and the third line is lower trigram, personal destiny. There is a need here to bring some focus to maintaining oneself on the surface, because it is on the surface level, the mundane level, that the body lives and survives. Integration is all about survival, and survival is very superficial, really, when you come down to it. Without any prejudice on that word, survival relies on the body being fed and washed and dressed and all of these things that are really fairly mundane. It's being aware of what is going on around you all the time, in the now. Many people think that being in the now is really very existential, very special, and somehow exalted. But it's actually, in many ways, it's quite mundane, really. The 34-3 is called machismo. The 34 is such a powerful gate, it can be quite self-absorbed. Again, it's lower trigram. It doesn't realize maybe how powerful it is. Having this grounding of power can be very useful for the 20th gate to stand on. The third lines can have a really tough time in their process, breaking bonds that they've made, bumping into all sorts of things. So being able to rely on their own power can be a bit of a relief. The machismo can be protection, could be a bit of posturing, a bit of acting tough, which, maybe if you analyze it too deeply, you could be very well critical of it, or they might be of themselves. Acting tough in the now, bumping into something, breaking the bond, bit of posturing, bit of machismo. These things all work together, but they look back on it and it's like beat themselves up for having done it that way. But perhaps this is what they need to bump into to learn how to best use their machismo, to learn how to use that self-awareness to empower themselves. So the moon is still in gate 1, the gate of self-expression in the G center. At 12:16, it moves into gate 43, the gate of insight in the ajna, with its unique perceptions that come as a result of sudden insights, and a constant process of structuring these insights so they can be formulated as concepts that then bring a radically new knowledge into the world, a mutative knowledge. Of course, it's individual. This is a spontaneous happening, it's not a premeditated process. These insights are not necessarily backed up by facts, and they can diverge quite considerably from the conventional perception, you could say. Genius freak, because that's individuality for you, and because we've actually got a channel here, because Uranus is in gate 23. So we have the channel of structure and we have the genius freak. This is where individual knowing is really best expressed by waiting for an invitation to avoid resistance. And then at 2300, 11 p.m, gate 14 is the next gate that the moon goes into, the gate of power skills. It's that deeply material gate that supplies the entire energy for the material way. This is about having access to resources and material wealth, and the power and the skill to distribute and direct those resources in a way that really supports humanity's need for change, for mutation, because we must have both. And gate 14 is in individuality and it's mutative. We need to mutate and change in order to survive as a species. Is the moon bringing you any particular focus on your material resources right now? Is there room on your wagon for more? You'll remember that when we looked at this as the grounding force, when the sun was in gate 8, gate 14 is possession in great measure, often seen as the cart or the wagon piled high with possessions to symbolize abundance. Have you got room on your wagon for a little bit more abundance? At 9:38 tomorrow morning, gate 34 is next. Gate 14 goes into 34. It's amazing how this works, really, isn't it? Power skills goes into the gate of power. So, of course, it's another sacral gate. We know this is a gate we've been looking at. It's already in our awareness as the earth gate to the sun in 20. So we know here that power is only great when its display or use serves the common good. This is the gate grounding the sun right now, this power that serves the common good. It's our earth, so it's double power, you could say, double power today. Can you feel it? If you are an open sacral being, then is there an urge to do a little bit more when the 34 is activated? If you're a generator, how does it feel having this gate active? Does the transit affect you? Would you like to share your observations? As for the last few days, while we've been in this 2034 energy, we can all feel into being manifesting generators. What does that feel like if you don't usually have this energy in your particular configuration? Are you a reflector? Does that impact you deeply to have the 2034? Is it something that you're familiar with hanging gates that you have? So many different ways to explore this information. Oh, I leave that with you, and I look forward to any reflections that you might have or would like to share. And until next time, I will ask you, invite you, say, go gently, and take care. I'll see you tomorrow.